Welcome back to the Vires and Numeris podcast, a Bryer.io production. That's Bryer.io. This is a special thank you to our sponsors. We start every show off with a thank you to them. Without them, this podcast is not possible. Introducing Zen Sports this week, a new sponsor of the Vires and Numerous podcast. Zen Sports is a peer-to-peer sports betting marketplace where anyone can create and accept sports bets with anyone else in the world without the need for a centralized bookmaker. Deposit funds instantly using cryptocurrencies or fiat. No long wait times or deposit fees. Reduced betting fees compared to traditional bookmakers. The sports utility token is used for placing bets, getting awesome discounts, cashback rewards, bonuses, and other perks. Betting is also available in Bitcoin or USD. This is a decentralized peer-to-peer platform where anyone can create and accept bets with anyone else in the world without the need of a central intermediary or a bookmaker. This is a trustless system that lets the marketplace settle bet results and disputes. Check them out at zensports.com. Vinxcoin is the world's first decentralized fine, French wine, and vineyard-backed security token where anyone can be a fine French wine and vineyard owner from the comfort of their home. Vinxcoin is currently conducting the beginnings of their project over at vinxcoin.com. Check them out and all of the interesting things they're doing over there. Trios.io. What is Trios? Trios is an economy and a system, an ecosystem, a new economy, a fair economy. Trios is the direct reference to the decentralized money that will power a new economy. In the future, the term Trios will become synonymous with cryptocurrency and virtual financial assets, VFAs. Their payment methods, their ecosystem, their general use as both a utility and a store of value. Check them out over at trios.io. Sharon Coins, you found the brick-and-mortar financial institution where you can safely trade dollars for Bitcoin, USD to BTC, over-the-counter, OTC, and person-to-person. They facilitate transactions of all sizes, including high-volume transactions. Their headquarters is located in Waukesha County, more than being just an OTC location they are here to educate you about Bitcoin, wallets, blockchain, cryptocurrency, security, and platforms. If you're in the Milwaukee area, you can also visit their ATM, their Bitcoin ATM, and more locations are coming soon. Visit SharonCoins.com. Bitcoin SOV, Bitcoin Store of Value, is an emerging community-driven product that has a decentralized team the world over. It is a proof of work mineable ERC20 and has a deflationary design with token burns to ensure your value is stored over time. Check out their site at bsov.io. Lucio Paletti is a talented artist who created that masterpiece hanging up on my wall there, the Andy Warhol Buy Bitcoin piece of art there, which I love a lot. Check him out. He has pages of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin art over there. Keychains he's working on right now. Check him out over at luciopaletti.com. That's LucioPoletti.com. Flashcoin is a reinvention of Litecoin built to scale for worldwide commerce and fast enough to handle everyday transactions. The flexible and easy to integrate core code allows exchanges and wallets to add Flash to their platform within hours. With a settlement time of around 5 seconds and consensus within 2 minutes, anyone, anywhere can use Flash mobile wallet as easily as cash or a credit card. I've talked about this before on the podcast. They're a new sponsor, but I've been using Flashcoin for a few years myself. They have a really cool integrated marketplace within their app where you can visit vendors, merchants around the world, and you can see their products and do commerce right over the app. So it's really cool and the future of decentralized commerce. So check them out over at flashcoin.io. And as always, before we get into the episode today, remember, nothing on Bryer.io, written or spoken, should be interpreted as financial advice. Always do your own research. You are the captain of your own financial ship. You control your own sovereignty, and just make sure that you always do your own research and educate yourself, self-invest in education and knowledge. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the show. Let's get into today's episode. And always appreciate you guys listening. Welcome back to the Vires and Numeris podcast. This is episode 11. Today I have a couple special guests. This is the first time I've done had two guests on at the same time. So I got a few Beam team members or Privacy Coin. If you're not familiar with them, we're gonna delve into all about their project today. Alexander Zaidelson and Alex Romanov. Welcome to the show today.
Hey,
Hi.
good to be here.
Yeah, so everybody knows that we have the COVID-19 saga going on today. Still we're a few months into it now. So I wanted to get you guys' take. Are you both in Israel?
Yeah.
Yes.
What's going on there with right now with the virus, the government? How are they treating it?
Well, we have about 1,300 sick as of now, and it's not like a full quarantine, but the recommendation is to stay at home. And most people, that's what they do. And of course, everybody who was traveling back from abroad for the last month or so was immediately quarantined for like 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And currently, so we mostly stay at home, which is okay because I was mostly working from home anyway. And, short trips to buy some groceries or, just walk around a little bit, but no more than that.
So you're still allowed to get out to hit the grocery store and stuff like that?
Yeah, but most of the other stuff is closed. So all the entertainment related stuff is closed. Schools are closed. So kids are at home, and the government actually urges people to stay home. And I mean, we're not fined yet for going out, but there's not many people in the streets anyway.
What about on the manufacturing front? Have they shut down like manufacturing and businesses like that, or?
I think they were supposed to shut down all the like non-essential.
Okay, so pretty similar to what's going on in the U.S. then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So restaurants are closed. I'm not sure about manufacturing actually. I think they shut it down as well.
I do still see some construction going on, but I don't know exactly what the rules there are.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to touch on that real quick. So did you guys both grow up in Israel, or where are you guys from?
So I was born in Russia.
Okay.
So I've been living in Israel for the last 20 years now.
What about you, Alex?
Yeah, I was born actually in the country which is currently known as Azerbaijan, but way back when it was part of the Soviet Union. So I was born in the Soviet Union, and I came here like almost 30 years ago. So I've been living here since then. So most of my life.
Yeah, when did you guys get interested in technology? I like to get a little backstory on my guest before we get into the project. If you guys would just want to keep in the same order, Alexander, if you want to go, and then let
sure.
Alex follow up.
So I started programming, I think I was like 12 or something like that, with there were those calculators where you could program some stuff with the stack-based language. And then, from there, I studied programming back at school. Then I learned applied linguistics, which is a combination of languages and programming. And then I worked as a software developer for like 7 years, and then did product and business stuff.
Yeah, I was actually interested in all this technology, robots, computer stuff long before I ever saw a personal computer. And I was a huge science fiction fan from like the early childhood. And then when I first got my computer, it was like this amazing device. And I was like really interested, mostly in playing games, of course, but it was fascinating to me. And I learned a lot. And then, of course, there was the regular, the school. And then I went to get my degree in the college, and I learned to program there. So, and most of the years at the same time, I was also computer technician, fixing these things and installing networks and all this stuff. And then after I graduated, I started working in the industry and been doing it ever since and enjoying it a lot.
Very cool. So when did you decide that you were going to take your skills in the technology realm and apply it to money? Because I found Bitcoin pretty early on. I read the white paper in 2009, and I wasn't a technologist at that point, or somebody who had a big background in technology. I was looking at it more from an economics standpoint. So did you guys have a lot of economics background as well, or did, just the idea of, privatized money that had the ability to be private, really just, kind of mesh with you as you learn more about Bitcoin and how it wasn't anonymous and how we could improve on it.
So I actually learned about Bitcoin pretty late, maybe 2016, and started, getting into it in 2017. So I can say I'm like an a crypto old timer.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned about Beam actually from Alex, who invited me to join at some point. And that was somewhere in late spring, early summer 2018. And I bought some Bitcoin back then, which I still hope it was a good idea. It was a good move. It will come back. So in terms of economics, I did my MBA here in Tel Aviv. So, I have some basic concepts, and this concept of replacing money really fascinated me, and the potential fascinated me, because if this dream, if or when it comes true, the value of those cryptocurrencies will be just enormous.
I didn't know much about Bitcoin, at all when I started working on Beam. A friend of mine, Guy Korem, who is very, very known in Israel because of his knowledge of these cryptocurrencies, and one of the founders of the early mining companies. He actually dragged me into this, and he said, listen, I have an idea. Let's do some kind of an implementation of the Mimble protocol. We'll probably talk about a lot later here. Mm-hmm. And I said, yeah, why not? I know guys for many years, and I was interested in the technological stuff. I didn't know anything about the economics of cryptocurrency or cryptocurrency at all. I never had a Bitcoin up until the point that we actually launched the Beam mainnet. So the first cryptocurrency I actually owned was Beam, in fact. And for me, it was a very new and very interesting, technological field, because I'm personally, I don't come from economic background, but I come from technological background, and I'm always interested in sociology of the stuff. So for me, the cryptocurrency was like this ideal mix of social processes, economic processes, and technological processes, all combined together in this unique combination. So I find it fascinating, and this is why I started this, and been enjoying it a lot.
Great answers. Yeah, I view the privacy coins. I'm hoping that one of the privacy coins step up here in the next few years and make their way into the top 5, because I view privacy as essential to human freedom. So if we can get one of those in the top 5 and really get society to embrace those, I think it can free markets up a lot, which I want to talk about here in a little bit as well. So central banks around the world, it's in the news a lot today, are printing money pretty much nonstop. Basically, in the United States, they've come out and said that they're going to print till they can't print anymore. Basically, infinity. We have an infinite amount of paper money that we can put into the circulation of the economy. I saw the clip. Did you? Yeah, it was on 60 Minutes, I think, last night here in the U.S. So, but a lot of people don't hear about the Bank of Israel. What's going on with them? Do you guys have any insights about what they're doing? Are they printing money as well?
I don't think they are, actually. I think for now they're planning to use their US dollar reserves if they need to. I'm not even sure whether they're really open about printing or not printing. I mean, maybe because obviously the government will need a lot of money. It needs a lot of money now, and will need much more money for all the unemployed and for all the bailouts and whatever they do. So we haven't heard about them printing yet, but we'll see. We'll see. I think they might go there if the reserves are not enough.
Yeah, they would.
Right now, what happened here is that the local currency actually depreciated against the dollar a little bit, which is actually very good for the economy here, because the shekel was just too high, and it was becoming very expensive to employ people here. and the exporters are not very competitive. But even that, it didn't fall that much. Maybe like 10%, even less than that.
So when you guys go somewhere in like a place of business in Israel, do most places take the dollar as well? I mean, is that pretty standard?
No, not at all.
No,
No, you cannot use dollars now.
Okay. All right. So you have to convert them online, or you go somewhere to convert them.
Well, if we usually don't use dollars that much, I mean, we get the local currency, so that's what we use.
All
But if you have dollars, yeah, you can convert them. You can exchange them there are lots of exchange places. You can exchange cash and you can put them in the bank or whatever, but not normally. You don't use dollars in retail or anywhere else. It used to be very. I mean, like what else? Like 10, 15 years ago, but like the apartment prices were listed in dollars, but not anymore.
Okay, I thought at one point it was like that. That's a good explanation. So let's get into the fun stuff now. I wanted to get a little background on the money and all that stuff, and you guys there. So how was Beam started? Basically, are you guys a decentralized community? Is there like a core of you guys in Israel then, or you guys are all around the world? Was it one person that started this project?
Alex, tell us the story.
Yeah, so no, it's so several people from Israel actually started this project. I was asked to manage the technology side, and it was basically from the beginning. It was a company. It was a registered company, and I have been. It was in like March. It started in March 2018. And I was recruiting programmers for the project. So I went to all my friends that I have previously worked with on different projects and different companies and asked them whether they want to join. And some of them agreed. So I have been able to quickly, like around 2 weeks, it took me to organize the core dev team that was from the very beginning and is still with us today. One of them lives in Israel, my old friend, and the rest are from Ukraine and Belarus, mostly Belarus right now. And we also have somebody living, he's an Israeli, but he's living in Thailand, enjoying the islands and the beaches and all the, good weather there. So we have become a very distributed team, and most of the work was distributed and, Zoom and a lot of online communication, even though we were officially a company, and that's how it started a little over 2 years ago. So what we basically, we started from scratch. Like we didn't have any code, we didn't fork any existing project. We just studied the white paper of Mimblewimble, which was basically one of the only 2 documents on this topic available. The other one was the paper that Andrew Poelstra wrote about Mimblewimble with the more in-depth research. And we just took it as is and we implemented the protocol from scratch. Of course, we used some cryptographic libraries and some networking libraries, but all the code in Beam is written by us. And it took us almost 9 months to get to the point that we released the mainnet on January 3rd, 2019, which was the 10th anniversary of Bitcoin Genesis block. Very important date. And Beam was running since then, almost like over a year and a half soon. So yeah, that's the story.
What is the uptime? Have you guys had to any issues where the Bitcoin blockchain uptime is almost 99.99% or something, 99.98? Have you guys had any stalls or anything like that?
Yeah, we had one.
How long did it last for? I honestly don't know anything about it. That wasn't a question I was going to ask you guys, but I'm just kind of curious. Was it a long problem, or did you get back on track pretty quick?
It lasted for like 4 hours.
Okay.
And it happened like a couple of weeks. Yeah, it happened on the 21st of January. And there was some weird bug of like two UTXOs colliding and kind of stopped the blockchain. We actually have it all documented and like in a very detailed way. So we communicated nicely with the community and fixed it. Like in 4 hours, it was all solved. But yeah, there were some questions and criticism back then. But in my view, software has bugs and it's inevitable. So
Right.
it's important to be open and to fix things.
Absolutely, and I'm sure it's all detailed somewhere. We can put that in the description, even if people wanted to read
Yeah,
about
I can send you the.
So moving on to why you chose to get involved with a privacy coin specifically, instead of just doing, some regular, even a Bitcoin type, open more where it can be tracked. Why did you guys want to take your talents to a privacy coin?
So, as I said in the beginning, I was fascinated with this idea of replacing money, right? And to me, it's very clear that anything that's not private cannot replace money. You cannot have your transactions visible to other people. It just doesn't work. It's bullshit. So you need a privacy coin, right? And Beam was exactly that. Now, in addition to that, in my view, for a currency to be really operational in the world, which is dominated by businesses, and governments are still not going away. So you need something that's private on the one hand, but that can undergo audit on the other hand. And that's where Beam's vision actually happens, right? That's what Beam is about. It's a privacy coin with it's in development with the way to offer to show your transactions to someone in a provable way.
Can you explain to my audience how Mimblewimble can do both of those? Well, how it can be audited and you can check and make sure that there is no inflation bug, for example, but while maintaining your privacy. And can you kind of summarize that?
Alex, I guess it's for you.
Yeah. So Mimblewimble is a very interesting, very elegant protocol that was anonymously published, as you know, in mid 2016. And basically, the idea of Mimblewimble is to get rid just of this one thing in current Bitcoin implementation, which is the Bitcoin script, and replace it with a different structure of the UTXO. It's based on the cryptographic primitive that is called Pedersen commitment. I will not go into the details too much here, but the idea is that you can do two things at the same time. You can both hide the amount of the transaction, and you can prove that you are the owner of this specific UTXO using this one simple construct. And because this construct has this additivity property that you can combine them together, you can basically combine together a lot of UTXOs and hence a lot of transactions and hence all the blocks. And you can get rid of all the intermediate results and just leave the original creation of the UTXO and its current state. So what it gives us out of the box is both the privacy, which is very important, and also the scalability. So the blockchain does not become larger and larger as a function of amount of transactions, but rather the amount of unspent UTXOs, which is in some cases can be order of magnitude smaller than the even Bitcoin blockchain, not to mention blockchains of other privacy coins such as Monero or Zcash. And Mimblewimble does that in a very simple way, using only this one specific construct to create UTXOs. So there is no way, if the implementation is correct, and of course the source is an open source, and we have done several security audits before we launched. So if the implementation is correct, there is no way that an inflation bug can occur, because the main condition that has to hold in the blockchain is that the total sum of all created coins minus the existing coins right now is 0. This is the basic condition that is checked on every level, on the transaction level, UTXO level, and on the block level. So the blockchain, if you sum up all the existing inputs and outputs and you combine them together, the result will be 0. Of course, there is a small correction for the kernel, which is when you have two blinding factors inside. They do not sum to 0, but they have some residue that is encoded in the kernel that is signed. So the combination of these three parts is always 0, which this is like the explanation why you cannot print something out of thin air in Mimblewimble.
So to follow up real quick to make sure that I'm understanding this correctly, is it called the cut through process? Is that what eliminates the bulky blocks so you can have more
Exactly.
data? Yeah, okay. Could you explain that just a little bit further by chance? So I think mobile computing will be like the future. So would you think it'll be very easily adaptable, or for Beam to be used on a mobile, on a cell phone in the future, so you can carry the entire node or blockchain in your pocket?
Yes, there are currently there is a possibility to run a node on a mobile device. However, from the practical point of view, there are several things that make this, let's say, less practical. First of all, in most, so in iPhones, for example, you cannot really run massive applications in background. You can do it on Android, but in iPhone, this option is blocked.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you should probably be connected to Wi-Fi, because otherwise you would, just run out of your plan very quickly, because the amount of information being sent constantly, all the transactions being broadcast and everything is quite a lot of information. And also there is one thing that is computationally heavy, is the zero knowledge range proofs that we're using to make sure each UTXO is actually positive. Because if you somehow can create a negative value UTXO, then you can actually print money out of thin air, because you will just create two UTXOs plus 10 and minus 10 that will sum up to 0, but then you will hide the minus 10 and use the plus 10 to pay someone, which is of course not okay. So in order to make sure no UTXO is negative, each UTXO is added a zero knowledge range proof. It's called bulletproofs. It's a very efficient implementation of this concept created by Benedict Bundt. And this is something that is a little bit heavier to calculate. But other than that, yeah, you can theoretically run your node on mobile, even today.
It's a great explanation.
If you have enough memory, of course, and storage to store this.
Okay, so I'm a pretty big advocate for Mimblewimble myself. I think it is the future. And I do think Mimblewimble and the projects that are trying to enhance it, like yourself and Grin and Epic Cash and a few others. There's Mimblewimble Coin. I'm interested in all of them. I'm all about competition, in money. Like I think we all are in this space. And I think the competition will create the best, money is a good, will create the best, money product. From the competition, the best will emerge. The cream will rise to the top. So my question is, I've done a lot of writing on Mimblewimble myself. What separates you guys from the other projects that I mentioned? If you had to just list some characteristics that you think makes you the best.
So I'll start. So today there are two families of projects, Grin and Grin Forks, and Beam Forks in Mimblewimble, right? So basically there are two original code bases, and then there are forks. So Beam is obviously the leader of, or the most interesting project in the Beam derived family. And the difference of Beam, there are multiple differences between Beam and Grin, the mission, the usability, and the vision. So I would say that Beam is, on the one hand, true to the core principles of Bitcoin in terms of limited emission. Mm-hmm. It implements all the good features of Mimblewimble: small blockchain, fast transactions, and Beam obviously has superior usability. Our secure BBS system allows for transactions that are kind of operate very similar to Bitcoin transactions. You just plug in the address and send it. Our wallets are very easy to use. And also our vision, I think, is the most complete, right? So it starts with privacy and auditability combined, and goes to the next steps of confidential DeFi, right? We're talking about bridges to other blockchains. We're talking about DeFi building blocks on Beam. So I think Beam has a much more complete vision than any other project in the space, in the Mimblewimble space.
Alex, do you want to follow up?
Yeah, I do. So first of all, both Green and Beam were the two Mimblewimble projects that launched in the beginning of 2019. And at that point, I think Mimblewimble was one of the most interesting protocols that's like on the market. And the amazing thing about Mimblewimble is that it's both simple and elegant from one side, and it has a lot of potential for extendability from the other side. And the reason I will talk mostly about Green and Beam is because I think these are the two projects that actually are interested in and are delivering technological innovation. So there are, of course, a lot of forks that need some modifications or other modifications, but in terms of original development, from scratch development and technological innovation, I think these two projects stand out. Speaking about Beam, what we've done in this year and a little over a year since the launch was not only building all the things that Alexander Zaidelson mentioned, like usable and beautiful wallets and getting listed on exchanges and having much more confidential transactions than Zcash at any point of time and stuff like that, but also a lot of really new technological things. For example, we have built Laserbeam, which is an implementation of Lightning Network-like payment channels, direct payment channels between wallets, which is something very non-trivial thing to do. We have built and launched atomic swaps, which allow you to exchange beams for Bitcoin without third party, without any intermediary, without having to trust anyone. It's like the limousine of decentralized finance. It's like this very, very elegant and interesting feature where you can exchange coins without having to trust anyone. And this is just like the two major features that out of several that we have launched this year and last year. And this year in 2020, we are currently working on Lilantus, which is another privacy protocol that will allow to solve one of the issues with Mimblewimble, which is the linkability of the UTXOs by adding this shielded pool, which can completely unlink any UTXO from its previous history. It's an amazing thing. And also confidential assets, which will allow you to create tokens on top of Beam, just like you can in ERC20, but in Beam, they will automatically inherit all the good features of Beam, such as scalability and confidentiality. So you can basically create your token and it will be confidential by default. It's an amazing feature. And based on that, we are currently actually building a platform to use these features to do new things, such as the bridges between Ethereum and Beam, as Zaidelson mentioned, and a lot more like advanced DeFi-oriented stuff. So we don't have smart contracts, but instead we have something that is called scriptless scripts, which is basically cryptographic building blocks built inside the node that you can operate from using your wallet, and then the blockchain can verify the results of your calculations that were done off-chain. It's an alternative model to smart contracts. It has some advantages. It also has some disadvantages in some cases, but for most use cases of confidential DeFi, these scriptless scripts are good enough. So all of these things were researched by us, built by us, and implemented and deployed. And I think this is something that not many projects today can tell, that they actually built all of these things from scratch very quickly and with high usability. So this is our forte today.
Great explanation by both of you there. I wanted to follow up on, you alluded to interoperability. Are you guys talking with any, it sound, you also alluded to atomic swaps and tokenization. I'm trying to get to all these things here quickly, but are you guys talking to anyone with like Chainlink or anything like that to, even give you guys more utility, or do you think atomic swaps, like you said, and cutting out that third-party intermediary is the way to go?
So in my view, it's atomic swaps as the first step and bridges is the second step. So just to explain the bridges in a little bit more words. The idea is that you can take any kind of token on ERC20 on Ethereum, go across the bridge, lock that token on Ethereum and have its representation on Beam. So you get privacy. Basically, there's a lot of value there, lots of tokens. So this is the interoperability for me, and a very clear value proposition. You want to send your DAI in a way that nobody sees and nobody knows how much you send, how much you, and who you send it to.
Right.
Here, use it here. So for me, again, atomic swaps was the first step, but that was, it is still always through Beam, right? You have to swap Bitcoin to Beam. So it's still for people who want to hold or trade Beam. Now the bridges feature, it actually, you will have to use Beam for transaction fees, but it's not limited to holders of Beam. It's utility for everyone. So that's the interoperability I see as very valuable.
So what is the roadmap on being able to launch these tokens? Have you guys released a date or anything like that for the public?
Yes, yeah, not a date, but we have a clear roadmap. It's published on our website, and basically we have like major versions that we are working on right now. We're in we're currently working on release that's called Double Doppler 4.2, which is the latest version of this double Doppler epoch, which took us from the end of last year and till now. And the next step will be the next scheduled fork, because first of all, from the very beginning, we announced that we will have 2 scheduled forks that will change the mining algorithm a little bit to avoid the ASIC builders. It's not so much a concern today due to the economy, but it was still announced from the beginning. And during these forks, we also get the opportunity to introduce the consensus breaking features, the major features that are incompatible with previous versions. So in the next scheduled fork, which will happen in the next couple of months, we will get to the next version 5.0, and there we will introduce all of these changes. Most of them were already developed and are already available on our master and development branches, such as Lelantus, as I mentioned, which allows to resolve the linkability issue, the confidential assets support and infrastructure, which allows you to create new tokens on Beam, and the change in our mining protocol, which is called Beam Hash. So it will be the third version, Beam Hash 3. And these are the 3 major changes that will be launched in the 5.0. And then we will continue to build on top of that all of the rest of the usability and APIs and all the rest of the features that you will need in order to use this for creating applications. So yeah, this is the roadmap for 2020. We did not announce the exact date for the fork yet, because there is still a lot of development to be done. We will announce it once we see clearly, the light at the end of the tunnel, and we do all the testing, because every fork is a very, let's say, delicate event, costs you a lot of hours of sleep and some gray hair on your head. So yeah, it's very important to do it right. So we are doing a lot of testing before the fork. And once we are clear, we will announce the date, which will probably sometime in the next 2 or 3 months.
Right. You definitely don't want to rush these things. I was just curious what the roadmap was on them.
Well,
go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say that the roadmap is on the website. If you're interested, it's very graphical and clear. And also, since we are open source, you can obviously follow our progress on GitHub or get the newsletters that we send every week. And in YouTube, there are some videos with weekly progress. Not so much for the last 2 weeks because I was lazy, but we will release when there are major developments. Right.
So shifting gears just a little bit back to the economic side. I'm looking at your total supply. It's like 262.8 million, and you guys have so far have mined 57.955 million coins, at least by the measure I'm looking at here. Can you tell us a little bit about how you determines the supply, if anything was pre-mined, is that how, if it was, is that how you guys kind of pay the team or anything like that?
So first of all, the supply curve was modeled on Bitcoins with 1 additional year in the beginning. So the block reward in the first in the first year is 100 coins, and then it goes down to 50 for 4 years, and then 25, and so on and so forth. So with the exclusion of this first year, it's exactly Bitcoin's schedule. So there are 52 million coins, 600,000 coins in the first year, and then
25.
210 million in the remaining 132 years. So it's like Bitcoin times 10 because our blocks are 1 minute and not 10 minutes. So the model is based on Bitcoin with this additional year where we decided to kind of double the block reward to attract more people to give some advantage to early miners. And that's what really happened. Now, in terms of pre-mine, there was no pre-mine and no ICO. Our model is based on what we call a treasury, which operates in the first 5 years of existence of the protocol. And what it does is that 20% of all the mined coins go to a special fund from where they're distributed to investors, the core team, and the Beam Foundation. So basically, in the first year, every minute a block was mined, the miner received 80 coins, and 20 coins went to the treasury from where it went to those people who contributed to the project, like the investors who actually put in the initial funds to make this all happen, members of the team, advisors, and also the Beam Foundation, which has actually relatively recently taken control of the protocol from the original company and strive to become more decentralized.
Very nice. Yeah, I was just curious about that. Didn't want to dwell on it too much, but this was something you have to ask. You're curious how the project is, designed and stuff. So, do you guys view yourself as a potential long-term? I mean, I guess you probably would, but I just want to get your input on it as a store of value, or are you focusing more on becoming, the private or anonymous medium of exchange for the world?
Well, to me, it's not a super important question. I think the market will show people can use Beam as both. I mean, it's not gold, which is heavy to move and difficult to transact with. Beam is great both as store of value and as means of exchange, and we made sure that technology-wise it works both ways. And our vision is again to get people to use Beam rather than to just trade it or store it. So to me, the goal is to be both store of value and means of exchange. Mm-hmm. Time will tell.
Right, the market determines that.
What happens more? Which way happens more? Hopefully both.
What's your opinion, Alex?
So we have two goals, high level, dreams. The first one is practicality. We want to be as practical as possible, which is why we invest a lot in usability. We have wallets that are running on all platforms, whether it's desktop or mobile, or web wallet that we're working on right now. And we want people to be able to use Beam like anywhere, everywhere. And this brings us to the second point, for any purpose. So basically, we want Beam to be able to conduct any type of value. So of course, there are the beams themselves, which are kind of, this universal type of token. It's fast enough to be medium of exchange with the 1 minute block time. And if that is not fast enough, we have the direct payment channels that make this instantaneous. Or you can store them and, hold them for longer periods. So you can use both. But also with the addition of confidential assets, you can basically encode any value you would like to exchange. And then you have the bridges and the atomic swaps to tie this all together into one ecosystem. So this combination of practicality and universality in terms of types of value that you can trade, this is where we're going. And of course, everything is subject to perfect privacy.
So what do you guys have a portion of your team that is focused on getting merchants around the world to implement Beam?
Absolutely. We have, so far, I think we have almost 200 different outlets that receive Beam. To tell you that we are happy with the amounts of actual usage of Beam, I mean, it would be true. And it's the same for any cryptocurrency. And starting with Bitcoin, people are not yet using it for payment. that much, but that will come.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we spent a lot of effort on Unit.
So a couple more questions for you guys to conclude here. I know it's getting a little bit later in Israel, and I don't want you guys to miss dinner. As I've kind of talked about, as somebody who views this as an economist type of person or whatever, I'm more about free markets and stuff, and I love the technology. But what do you think the impact of having a privacy coin can be on free markets? So a lot of places around the world, let's not say they don't want cryptocurrency. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But I view it as a vehicle for free markets. What do you guys think about that?
I think, yeah, I would agree. It's a vehicle for free markets, and it's a vehicle for any economic activity, right? Because, again, no privacy, no real economic activity can happen, right? I mean, as long as you trade on an exchange, you buy and sell, well, it's also problematic, by the way, that everybody knows, like, how much you're making and so on. But if you start doing business, which is not happening yet, but it will. Once you start doing business, you need a privacy coin, because otherwise it just won't happen. Human nature will not change, and competition will not change, will not disappear. So we're not talking about communism here. We're talking about different means of payment, different sort of value, different kind of money, and it has to have all the good properties of money, one of which is fungibility and privacy. So here you go.
Perfect answer. Go ahead, Alex. What's your take?
Yeah, so for me, there are several aspects in which I think cryptocurrencies will shine. First of all, even with this crisis with the coronavirus, we see that the globalization has already happened. So there are no longer like local problems. Everything becomes global very fast. And Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies being essentially global money, I think fit very well in this direction that the world has taken for the last many years of making this a single market and having a lot of different types of financial and economic relations between countries and people living in different parts of this planet. And I think this is like one of the things which are very important. This, lack of borders, ubiquitousness of, ability to send payments instantly and at very low fees around the globe. So this is the first part of future success of cryptocurrencies. The other one is obviously an alternative to fiscal policies of government. We see places that have terrible inflation. We see places that cannot get access to banking. And this, just like most or many other technologies, enables people to have more freedom in this space, which is very important and enables a lot of different types of transactions that just were not possible before. So this is the second part. Of course, it's much cheaper than having these banks or any kind of old school intermediaries in terms of fees that you pay. The third part is regarding privacy. So this privacy, I like to call it confidentiality, because privacy is a very loaded word. It has a lot of connotations, but confidentiality is the idea that you are the one who decides who sees what and who knows what. It's your data. It's up to you. We see this a lot all over the world. And even right now in this most recent crisis, there's a lot of talk of what government can trace and whether they can use your cell phone to track where you're going and things like that. And it's becoming very central topic of many, many discussions for many years already. So I think this ability for the person to be in control of his data, of his privacy, especially in the financial domain, is extremely important, which is why we think the privacy coin is the way to go. And, it's more like in this essential feature that you need to have any kind of practical and meaningful financial transactions in the future.
Yeah, I think as more and more people find out about privacy coins and how they work and the success of them over time, we're going to just drag people along into this space. So I'm really excited about the future of privacy coins. Just for posterity, I always like to mention that this is March 23rd, 2020. The price of Beam right now is 27.5 cents. The price of Bitcoin's fluctuate around $6,300 today as more and more central banks around the world are flooding us with paper money. One last question for you gentlemen, and then I'll let you go. I'd love to have you on again sometime. I really appreciate your time today or tonight over there. We'll stay in the same rotation here. Alexander, you first. What is Bitcoin, and what is the overall cryptocurrency, and especially your particular project, Beam? What does it mean to you?
It means, to me, Bitcoin and Beam is a triumph of human mind over history and deeply entrenched beliefs. It's showing humanity again that with us that with our own ingenuity we can really change things. So it's a wonderful example of how human genius of Satoshi in the beginning, and then we're all standing on his shoulders, can apply technology to really change the world, and hopefully for the better. That's what it is for me.
Bravo. Alexander, go ahead. Or Alex, sorry.
Yeah, so for me, Bitcoin is a really unique and amazing thing because it's the first time in human history that money actually became decentralized. Like from the very beginning, people using all kinds of gold coins or whatever they were using, there was always like one issuer, whether it was the king or the empire or the government. And it's the first time that it was possible through technology to have decentralized money. That's what it means for me. And it's an amazing combination of both economy, sociology, religion for some people even, and in some way, like they're like true believers in these things. And of course, technology. So that's what Bitcoin is for me. And Beam, well, Beam is like my baby. It's like something that I saw from nothing and becoming something and running, and it's a very different experience from any project that I have ever worked with, because it's not just a software that you release to the customer and then you have some updates. It's a living thing, and once it's alive, it has a life of its own in which you kind of participate, but you no longer control it, because you have miners and you have users and you have exchanges and you have all these ecosystem building. And for me, it was amazing because it was really new experience to see something like that being born and then grow. And I was surprised how many people, in our communities really love it, and how much support we're getting from people, even in the most difficult times, and how much optimism there is out there. And I'm actually very grateful, and I would like to use this opportunity to really thank, our community for supporting us, because it's an amazing feeling, and it fuels everyone and it motivates everyone in the team to keep doing this. And it's not about money. It's an open source project, which is great. We feel like we contribute, and it's like really watching a child grow.
Absolutely. Great explanations from you gentlemen today. I really appreciate it. I hope that this carries us closer towards my goal in this world is free markets and, peace and prosperity follow from all that. So with that said, I'll say a proper goodbye, and hope to talk to you gentlemen again soon.
Yeah, thank you so much. Great conversation, great questions. It's very encouraging in those hard times to be talking about these exciting things, and thanks for keeping it going. And it was great to meet you, and it was a great conversation.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much for having this chance.
We'll do it again soon.
Cool.
All right.